Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest. Welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I am your host, Coach Rice, and with me today I have Natalie Lavelock, and she is a leadership and business development specialist. So, Natalie, thank you for coming on and tell us where you're from and how did you embark upon that particular career path?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I'm from a rural little town outside of Kansas City, Missouri. My husband and I, we raise kids, cats, cows, and now chickens. So don't let the looks deceive you. I'm a small town girl and we have big time in the country. And as far as how this all started, Martha, I feel like this found me. This wasn't anything that I had set out to do. I think about clear back to when I was a little kid and everything I did, everything I attempted, every organization I was in, people just put me in leadership positions. And, fast forward the tape to my nursing career, the next thing I knew, I was leading a global initiative across our entire healthcare organization. And so it just like little by little by little, God kept turning up the heat on my leadership skills. And then when I decided to start my own business, there have been some different iterations of that, but I'm really finding my love, my place, and where I have the greatest impact is helping high level leaders become even stronger leaders and better communicators, because I believe that everything rises and falls on leadership, and leadership, your ability to impact others, is impacted through communication. So we want to make sure that we're great communicators so that our vision and our mission can continue to grow and expand.
Oh, wow. And so you rewire leaders in a certain capacity. Why is that?
So there's always been this assumption of what leadership is supposed to be. And whatever that looks like for you, there's probably some truth in it. And there's probably also some false beliefs that you have about who you are as a leader and what's expected of you. What I see a lot of times is that the leaders that I work with, they're carrying one of those false beliefs, and it's creating a bottleneck or stagnation in their ability to lead at the next level. And
Hmm.
so we go in, or we I shouldn't say we go in, but what we do is we examine those false beliefs and then help people to, I call it rewire, so that they have a new belief that's stronger and healthier. And the reason I call it rewiring, if you know anything about your brain, neuroplasticity, all of those good
Yes.
kinds of things, we have these neurochemicals that lay down connections in our brain. And when we've adopted a false belief, there's a pathway that our brain is used to going. We call it the shortest distance. It's the wiring in our brain, right? Well, when it's not serving us anymore, when it's causing a disconnect, when it's causing a problem in our business, it's important to tell those chemicals we need to go a different direction. We need to lay down new wiring. We need a healthier belief. We need a belief that will serve us in this next season. And so that's why I call it rewiring, is because we're teaching the brain to operate in a new way, to adopt a new thought pattern, a new healthier process, so that we can level up our leadership and become even stronger, more effective, more capable leaders.
So what are some of the false beliefs that you see frequently in your practice?
Great question. So when I was working with some corporate leaders here recently, it was for another healthcare system. one of my leaders was getting ready to move into a director of operations position. And one of the biggest things she struggles with is the person who was in this position before me was amazing at what they did. How will I ever fill their shoes? Am I enough to really do this?
Yes.
Am I good enough? Am I strong enough? Am I smart enough to fill their shoes and take over and carry on in that role? So, am I enough? Am I really capable? Can I do this? Um, you know, all those self-sabotaging and limiting beliefs that we all experience at some point. It's just for some
Yes.
of us, they can be fleeting thoughts, but for some of us, they get stuck. And it's something that in order for us to move to the next level, like we keep bumping up against it. We keep bumping up against it. Another leader that I was working with, it was their one of their core beliefs that they always got the short end of the stick. And so
Hmm.
no matter what the business relationship looked like or the event looked like or the sales looked like, somehow or another, they felt like they got the short end of the stick. And so it kind of takes the joy and the fun out of building your business if you feel like you're going to be short-ended all the time, you
That's
know?
so true. That
It,
belief is causing them to walk in a certain trajectory through the
yeah,
lenses that they're looking at, right?
exactly, exactly.
Wow. And so, how can, you know, leaders find their identity when they're leading from pressure versus purpose?
Well, one is by identifying the emotional response or the emotional reaction that you're having to something. I think we all know what pressure feels like. We all know what it's like if I don't do this, this will happen, right? If I don't do this, it's pressure, it's fear, as opposed to purpose. With purpose, you're excited, you're in flow, you're looking forward to these things. Yes, it may be challenging, but you're up for the challenge. Let's do something new and exciting, right?
Right.
And so looking at where you are in your mindset and the frame of reference around is this something that I'm having more negative feelings about, or is this something that I am having more positive thoughts and feelings about? And if you find that you're in that negative space, then it's a time to take action and do something to rework that, and finding the root cause of
Yes.
why you're in the negative space. Like you've got to get down to the root cause. It's so many times a client will show up and they'll say, I'm having this struggle. And the coach's response or somebody's response will be like, well, just do the opposite. You just need to suck it up. You just need to do the thing. Right. But you don't, that when
It's a
somebody's
reason.
in that moment and they're banging their
Yes.
head up against that belief, just telling them to push through it doesn't usually help. You've got to help them see what got them there in the first place and then go back to that root and give that root, um, I'll say from a farming community, put some Roundup on that root and kill that sucker off and plant a new seed so that something new can grow, so that something can grow healthier and stronger.
Yeah, you have to pull out that root because it's causing a roadblock. I
Kill that
totally hear
sucker.
you. Yes.
Yes,
And plant something new in it, right? You got to replace it with something, right?
that's right.
And so, I like how you mentioned, you said you had a client who, well, you say you knew someone who went into leadership and they was coming behind someone and they got this picture of this view of like, I'm not going to meet up to this standard. That's, a lot of unresolved fear. And so
Mm-hmm.
with that, how does that, other than that part, how does that other show up in leadership relationships and decision making when you're in that kind of flow like that?
That's great. So anytime we're operating from a place of fear, um, it can show up a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's that we are closed-minded to other thoughts, that we are closed-minded to other people's opinions, that we don't take time to listen to them, right? I don't have time for this. Well, that's fear-based, right? You're
Mhm.
afraid of losing time to work on something else. There's the I'm not enough again, which is fear-based. You may have to ask the question again because I think I kind of lost the train on that one. But
No, we talking about unresolved fear and how it show up in leadership, relationship, and decision making. Yeah.
yeah,
And you pretty much
so
answered it. Yeah.
yeah. So as far as leadership and decision making, when there are things that you like, you have this gut feeling and you know that it's the next right step for your clients, for your organization, whatever, and yet you just can't pull the trigger on it. You can't bring yourself to do it because what if? It's like I know that if this goes well, we're gonna really benefit from this, but what if it doesn't? What if it goes sideways? What if this person reacts this way? Right? And so those decisions get delayed. It takes longer to make the decision than it really needs to, which can have fallout, especially if you're in a corporate setting and you're trying to negotiate a deal and you're delaying on the deal. There can be consequences to that. There can be consequences if you're an entrepreneur and you need to pick up the phone and make some sales calls, but you're afraid to pick up the phone and make those calls.
Right.
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways that that can show up, and most of the time it's just figuring out what the origin of that is and then taking the time and making the investment to rewire it to something that will help you move forward and be a catalyst for you as opposed to a roadblock.
Right. And so do you find in, a lot of leaders, I think they have this view that I've seen so many times in leadership where people think leaders don't go through anything. They think they just know it, they don't have any problems, and they don't, they got this whole expectation about leaders that just really don't exist. And so, with that being said, and leaders carry that expectation because someone laid it on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with leaders that's walking in that perfect posture of I don't, because if you feel like you don't have any problems, you're not gonna cry, you're not gonna reach out for help.
So that's kind of a two-parter question
Yeah,
because
yeah, it's kind of like yeah.
you have the outside world that doesn't see that the leader has problems, and then you have the leader that knows that they have problems, but they don't really have a safe place to process any of that because they're carrying the weight of everyone else around them.
Yes.
Unfortunately, most of the time, and this is partially industry specific because in some industries, a leader who is vulnerable is more impactful. In some industries,
In some
leaders who
industries,
have it
yes.
all together, that's more impactful. Now, I come from the world of healthcare. I'm a registered nurse. I have a master's degree in nursing education. And for almost 20 years, it was my job to train doctors and nurses at the bedside. One of the things that when you go through nursing school that you're always taught is no matter what's going on in your life, you check it at the door when you clock in because it doesn't matter what's going on in your world, your patient's what's most important. You've got to be able to lay your own feelings aside in order to deal with the crisis that may be in front of you that day. And if you're caught
Mhm.
up in your stuff, then you can't be effective for your patient. So your brain begins to do that dissociation. And after
Okay.
years and years and years and years and years of dissociating, it becomes harder to actually feel things because we've told those connections not to happen. You kind of
So
get
you
numb.
become numb.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, though, our bodies subconsciously still hold on to all of the emotion that we're consciously telling ourselves we can't feel. And so we have unexplained weight gain, we have anxiety, we have stress, we have headaches, we have tension, we have all of those cascade of ambiguous symptoms like a fibromyalgia type of of pain, just general aches and pains all over our bodies. And a lot of times it's just because our body's carrying the things that we have not been able to deal with because of that rule that's set up, right?
Right.
Similarly, a lot of leaders feel that same thing. It's not specific to healthcare, but because you're a quote unquote leader, you're you're expected to carry everything. You're expected to know everything. You're expected to be able to, march through anything and provide a place of safety for those. I'm going to say this is not how I feel. It's just the moment.
Right.
Like, you're the leader and the weaker people around you, your followers, you've got
Right.
to be strong for them, right? It's a total lie, but it's one that we've bought into.
Right.
And the beauty of it is the people around us are our greatest support. The people around us are the people who give us access to the parts of ourselves
Mhm.
that we've denied, and they get to
So
be
true.
part of our healing as well.
So, what would you say the difference between a fearless leader versus a reckless leader?
Ooh, that's a great question. I just keep saying that over and over because you have such great questions, Martha. This is awesome. So a reckless leader is somebody who just jumps without, you have an idea and you run with it. You don't really think through the ramifications of what that does for your team, what that means for your company
Mm,
outside the either the wow that you're feeling right now, or the maybe the pressure that you're feeling to make a decision in a silo. Those are reckless leaders. They do what they feel like they need to do spontaneously in the moment, and it doesn't matter how it impacts anyone else or anything else. A fearless leader is someone who has a big decision to make, and they've taken into account all of the impact, and they know that if this goes sideways, they're going to shoulder the responsibility of a very heavy and very negative outcome. But man, if that scale tilts the other way and things go really well, like, it's going to be incredible for their entire team, for all of their community, all of their clients. But rather than getting stuck in the what if of the negative, they're willing to take that risk. They're willing to stare fear in the face and say, you do not own me, right? They're willing
wow.
to charge that mountain and bring their people with them to get to the top.
Got it. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I love it. Because some people really have a different definition of it. So that's why I was like, let's talk about it because sometimes people don't really look at that. And
Yeah.
so with that being said, here's another question.
I love that though. Before you go on, like, I think that's a really important distinction to make, because sometimes when you talk about being a fearless leader, someone who's had a very negative experience with that, they're hearing reckless,
Yes.
right? So I'm glad you asked that question.
It's interesting because you said it didn't choose you didn't choose it, it chose you. There's obviously a you were born to be in leadership. You were born in that arena. You were taught in that arena and raised in that arena. And now you help others in that arena.
And I'll be honest with you, Martha, it's scary.
Yes,
It's
that's what I
scary
think people don't
because
understand. It's scary because you have to make the hard decisions.
you have to make the hard decisions, and you know how those hard decisions can impact everybody around you. And I genuinely love people. And when you love people, you don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to hurt them.
Right.
You don't want to cause them pain. You don't want to have to be the person that goes to them and say, like, I'm sorry, things aren't great and we're going to have to let you go. Like, oh,
Yeah, that's a hard one.
daggers, right? Um,
That's a hard one.
and so it's hard. It's a scary place to be. And it wasn't really until probably just a couple years ago
Mhm.
that God really started working on me. And he's like, are you going to continue to focus on pleasing people, or are you going to focus on pleasing me?
And you can't do both.
I was like, oh, all right, daddy. Talk about calling your daughter up. Here we go.
Yeah, being a leader, it causes you to have hard conversations. It's hard.
It does.
It causes you to have to make decisions that cost you friendships, cost you relationships. Period. But you have to do the right thing. You have to make sure that you follow your own core values.
Yeah.
Within that. And so with leadership, why do you think leaders get so burnt out?
So I'm actually reading a book right now. I'm actually going through this book. What did I do with the book? Um, with some of my clients. I have a group called the Leadership Lounge, and we go through different leadership books. We talk about leadership topics and all those kinds of things. And one of the theme of the chapter that we're going through in this book called Spiritual Leadership, it's by J. Oswald Sanders, if anybody wants to look it up. Um, was talking about very few people are actually willing to pay the price of leadership, because when you become a leader, you're a target for everyone. Those who don't want you to succeed will target you. Those who know your
Mhm.
history will target you. Those who don't think that you're doing it right will target you. And those who have watched you and seen you trip, or the outcome isn't like, if you had to adjust course, they're going to point that out, right? It's about being able to stand in the fire, and not
Right.
many people are willing to step up and be in that place and take responsibility and take accountability for everything that's going on for themselves, and sometimes take responsibility for things that maybe their team did that they didn't even know was happening, but because it was under the umbrella of their leadership, they're being held responsible for it, and they have to take ownership of it, and they have to deal with it, and sometimes they have to reestablish trust with the people that trust got broken because of someone else's actions. And right, I'm going to say this, and people are not going to like it when they hear it, but in our country, we have all become so privileged that we're comfortable. We're comfortable in where we're at. Now, does that mean we all have everything we ever wanted? No. But most people in this country have a roof over their heads. Most people have their basic needs met. Not all, but most. And we have a level of comfort that when you go outside of the United States and you go to a second or third world country, they don't have those things. And
Right. They don't
so
have the privileges.
yes. And so they're willing to fight harder for what they have than what we are here, because we're comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you don't feel like you need to step up and make waves. You don't feel like you need to advocate at the highest level, because when you do, things get uncomfortable. And so
Hmm.
we have a tendency just to keep our heads down, do the best job that we can, don't make waves, just get through till retirement, and then coast.
Leadership looks a little different these times that we have right now, where we have different generations in
Mhm.
the workplace. So you have like maybe Gen Zs, Gen Xs, and the baby boomers are moving out, they retiring. But
Yeah.
and you have the millennials. You have the three that's operating in the workplace now more so than anything are depending on the industry you're in, are the Gen Zs, the X's, and the millennials. When it comes to leadership, how do what would you say how would a successful leader navigate that?
Hmm. I'm gonna say it again. Great question. So while yes, we are seeing um, new generations enter into the workforce, I think there's a couple of things. Like even though they're different generations and they have different values and things like that, we're also at a different point in history than we've ever been at in the past. So the tendency for a boomer is to expect a Gen Z or my youngest son, I think he's called a Gen Alpha. I'm like, oh, you guys have the best name ever. Anyways, they have a tendency to look at them and expect them to have the same values and the same work ethic that a boomer has,
Yes.
right? I think for this to work, we have to recognize that having that mindset doesn't work, right? If we really
Right.
want to take advantage of what's available to us now in the marketplace and what's available to us now as a country, we've got to look at these other generations and look at what those values are.
Love
And
it.
yes, we can guide them in, oh, that one's a little bit off. Let's see if we can rein that in here. But that all comes through leadership, that all comes through communication. And if your style is my way or the highway, you're instantly putting up a barrier and you're never going to have their ear to be able to teach and train them. Right.
Exactly.
Likewise, I think about, and this is something I see, maybe your audience doesn't see it, but I'm sure they are all intelligent individuals that can draw their own parallel. Something that is common where I live is century farms, farms that have existed in a single family for over 100 years. And so what that means is, you know, grandpa owned it, dad owned it, son now owns it. But what happens a lot of times is that the son comes back from college or wherever, and he's like, Grandpa, look at what I learned, and this is amazing, and we should try this. And da-da. And Grandpa's like, no, this is the way we've always done it, and this is the way we will continue to do it. Well, there's always a place for
The place for it.
intervention or innovation. There's always a place for
Yes.
new listening. And and yes, maybe that did work, but maybe there's a new way, maybe there's a better way, right? And
Exactly.
so to not draw this out any longer than absolute necessary, we're in a different place. We're no longer in the building of America phase. We're no longer building original skyscrapers and original highways and that backbreaking labor
Yes.
intensive every single day. That's not what the world needs right now. We need
Right.
to look at what does the world need now and what do these kids have to contribute. And I will tell you, this is one of my beliefs. This generation of kids, they understand work-life balance greater than any of the boomers or Gen X ever did. They're not going to come into the workspace and be burned out because
Exactly.
they value their time off. They value the relationships around them. And so I think there's a lot that us older people
Can learn from them, right?
can learn from them in this season. Yeah, and that doesn't make our way wrong and that doesn't make their way right. It's
It's
just
just seeing the
what can we
value.
learn from one another? And when you
Yes.
value that instead of seeing it as competition or threatening, um, we all win.
Exactly. And I totally agree with you. I asked that question because I'm passionate about looking at all of that in leadership because I could see value in collaboration.
Hmm.
And I think that if you're not careful, you can totally miss an opportunity.
One of the things that I think we can run into is, that it can be fear-based again, right?
Mhm.
Technology, not all of us. I think I was like 12 when we got our first computer or something like that. Like I wasn't born with a device in my hand. Now, my
Right.
kids
I
were,
wasn't either.
right? Like they were on devices from preschool and kindergarten. Have a level of discomfort from advancing technology. And so if we allow fear to creep in around that, we will shut down what they're trying to teach us rather than leaning in and going, I don't understand this, teach me.
And they're willing to do it.
Yeah,
And I think it's a win-win on both sides.
totally.
What advice would you give leaders today when it comes to being a successful leader?
Hmm. How long do we have?
I know, right? High level, high level.
High level. All right. I think leaders today um, need to operate in a higher level of emotional intelligence than
Mm,
previously thought, or I should say, previously done. I think leaders today need even greater communication skills than in the past, because we have such vast access to knowledge and false knowledge. I think it becomes more and more important for us to be able to have communication and to share wisdom and discernment with one
yes,
another and to listen fully to the person, that we're talking with. And I think for anyone who really wants to influence culture today, having the ability to listen to someone who is completely in every way different from you and do it in a way where you're not triggered and you aren't like flying off like you can handle yourself, right? And you can do it in a way that you can listen to that person and you can find common ground in what you have together, because there is always a place of common ground for which we can start and we can build upon. But if we're just looking at what makes us different, oh, the generation makes us different, oh, our location makes us different, oh, our political beliefs make us different, like if all we're looking at is divide, then divide is what we're going to get. As
right.
leaders, if we look for foundation and unity and we are looking intentionally for that and wanting to build upon it, that's what's going to grow. And I think we have to be a lot more intentional with seeking that out and understanding what our own values and beliefs are, how they're different from someone else, and allowing that to be okay. Doesn't
Yes,
mean you have to change your views, but you have to be willing to listen to someone else and find that common ground.
absolutely. So, what is your onboarding process
My
for
onboarding
clients?
process,
Yes.
yeah, you can book a call with me. That's the fastest, easiest way to connect with me. And like I said, that's also my favorite way for people to connect with me because we get to have a conversation.
Yes.
We get to have a conversation like real humans do. I really I don't do a whole lot of, you know, get this free thing that you're never going to look at and ends up in your never looked at
Yes.
box and what, like, let's just skip all that. Let's have a real conversation. Let's
Right.
talk about what you're facing and we go from there.
That's awesome. So, client centered, I like it. I
Absolutely.
like it. And so, if the listeners can take one thing away from our conversation, which we had a lot of conversations about,
We did. We
um,
did.
what do you hope they remember about being a fearless leader?
I hope that they remember and that they know that they have a high calling on their life, that they were created with purpose in mind, and they were put here on this earth to accomplish that purpose, which means first and foremost, if you were put here for a purpose, there's a way for you to accomplish your purpose. And in that, there will be things that meet you to try and stop you. And that's where the fear creeps in. And so part of our job, part of our mission is to become fearless, to recognize when fear is stopping us from accomplishing the purpose for which we have been put here, and then addressing fear in that moment and putting fear in its place, because fear is not the banner over your life.
I like that. Well, Natalie, thanks. Do you have anything that you got coming up or anything that you're doing that's exciting in the future?
Um, well, I think I mentioned the Leadership Lounge earlier. So
Okay.
that is something we meet every single week. We would love to have people join us in the Leadership Lounge. I've got several other speaking opportunities coming up across the summer, and that's always
Nice.
fun to get to travel and go. So if anybody has an event and they're looking for a speaker, reach out to me that way. Or if you just want to have a conversation about where you're at and what your goals are as a leader, reach out to me as well and we'll have that conversation.
That's amazing. Calling all entrepreneurs and business owners and I mean, yeah, entrepreneurs and leaders in business and all of that. Yes. Reach out to Natalie. And so with your leadership lounge, is that a free event or is that something that how do they sign up?
I So I can give you a link to put in
Okay,
your show notes
absolutely.
about how they can sign up. I do offer a free month so you can come in, test it out, see if it's someplace you feel like is beneficial for you to be. And then there are options for a paid membership beyond that.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Thank
So
you.
Natalie, we are so thankful that you came on today to share your wisdom and
Thank
have
you.
and had a and such a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk to you and share with the audience. It's definitely beneficial. People need to know because more and more leaders are coming up, but we want them to come up in the right way. And
Absolutely. And
so I am so grateful to have this conversation about that. And to the audience, if you have enjoyed this and you are an entrepreneur or you are in leadership, currently in leadership, or you looking to become a leader, please reach out to Natalie so that you won't lead with a limp. It's a
I
book
like
called that.
that.
You know, it's a book called that, right? It's a book called Lead with a Limp. But
Oh, that's great.
but no, but really seriously though, it's so nice to have people in that specialty and God put you there for a purpose, like he do all of us. And like I said to the audience, please reach out, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe because I always have amazing people on like Natalie. And so Natalie, we thank you so much for coming on. And I would just say to the audience and everyone else, have a fantastic Monday. It's your time to shine. Your journey to chart. Coach Rice wisdom will heal every heart. So join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to my